as a part of the event celebrating journalism with N.Ram organized by JustOut News and Ippodu on April 28th at Taj Coromandel, we are bringing to you another video with the man himself, N.Ram, the man who has contributed a lot to the field of journalism and who was behind the exposure of two main scandals in India, Bofors scandal and Rafale scandal. He talks about his life as a journalist and how journalism can impact the world in a better way.
So journalism as such involves various fields, knowing about things and all. So what are the complexities of being a journalist in India especially?
I think journalism is primarily a discipline of verification. That people must trust you. It's largely based on facts. Of course, there is a propaganda role, and many people are misusing the title of journalist today. The media are being manipulated also. But in the true sense, journalism has to be truthful, and factuality is at the basis of it. But it's more than that. It's because you provide background, context, meaning. In fact, a book by George Brock called Out of Print says that there are four core tasks of journalism. One is bearing witness. You witness verification, witness, investigation. These are the core functions of journalism. I speak about credible information role, that you provide information but it should be trustworthy or credible. Then a critical role, an analytical role, an investigative role. That's the second function. That you go beyond merely reporting. And then an educational role. Very often it's not performed well. I think very often it is superficial. But we do have an educational function when you talk about the economy or politics or science and technology or education or even sports or culture, cinema, the fine arts, music, all this. So journalism has an educational function, and if you do all this well, you come to what can be called an agenda building role. Earlier they used to claim that we set the agenda. That is, I think, immodest and a tall claim. What you can say is we participate in building an agenda, a worthwhile agenda. For example, against child labor, for better nutrition for children, for health care for all. These are things which are good, which are necessary in a society for the welfare of all the people. It has to be inclusive. And majoritarianism is a bad thing. In India you see a lot of communalism. I think we have to counter that. Journalism has a role in all this, and if you offer credible information on a regular basis, if you help people make sense of what is happening around them, that is good. And if you educate consciously, if you are an educational role, starting with school, pupils and those in colleges, the young. Unfortunately, there is some evidence to show that they are not reading newspapers the way they used to. And it is different in different places. Many of them also read, but it's not the same as was experienced before. So we have to bring them back, and the newspaper in schools is a very good idea. They have to, and now it's not just printed newspapers. The media function in various platforms. You have television, news television, you have radio, and you have the new media or the digital media. So all these have to be taken in, and young people have to be taught to be, first they should follow the news, but they should also follow it in a critical fashion. This media literacy is important, and media criticism is important, and I think these should be taught in schools, at least in middle school or high school. They should start, certainly in high school, but perhaps earlier, they have to start following the news media, following the work journalists do. And if they do this, I think we'll be in a better place. But in India, still, the news media are growing, although the pressures are great, because there are Now the evidence is a lot of people get their news from their mobile phones. It's not just mobile first, but mobile only in many cases. They follow it only on mobile platforms. So you've got to modify your approaches, make it more interesting to cater to respond to that huge change. In the old days, we printed things and people took it as Vedavak, or at least in many cases. Today they are challenging you through social media, on messaging platforms. There's also the phenomenon of fake news, false news. The President of the United States is perhaps the leading producer and purveyor of fake news in the world. And the American media track this. It also happens in India. The trolls and many ministers also put out a lot of false news, fake news, toxic news, as well as others, not just ministers. So I think we have a challenge on our hands, but it is not something that you would run away from. You have to feel positive about it. And we must celebrate journalism. Why? Because journalism matters. Journalism is important in a democracy, but not more than that. It helps people, it empowers, it helps people in the sense it can empower them if they follow the news on a regular basis, in a critical way, in context, and being able to make sense of what is happening. They are better informed citizens. And I think that will be good for any society, whatever the system that is being practiced. They should be well informed, and they should be discerning.
From that I'll ask my next question. You say that as journalists we inform, educate society, and there are also the threat of fake news and stuff. But people who are reporting the real stuff with the facts, they are either harassed or trolled online or killed. Yes. With regard to India, and recently World Press Freedom Index reported that we have gone down 2 places to 140th. Dropped down 2 places and reached 140th rank, and
140 out of 180 is something
countries.
Disgraceful.
Yeah. So is it? Will this change when the political stability, when the other party comes into power, or will the state of media still be declining in our country?
I think it can be arrested and reversed. It depends. It's partly the fear of the Sangh Parivar. There are also other groups which threaten, but largely because they have captured power in the center. Fear of there's an overarching fear. There is no question about it.
In case of murdering of journalists, where is the justice given to them? People share.
Yes, this is the Global Impunity Index, the Committee to Protect Journalists, CPJ, has been tracking this regularly from 1992, and India is a founding member and a permanent member of what can be called this Club of Shame. That is what the membership criteria are these. If journalists are killed in connection with their work and no justice is rendered at all during that period, let's say over the last 10 years, or in this case even more, then that means there is impunity. That you can kill, you can attack, and you get away with it because justice is not delivered. Killing is bad enough, it's very bad. But what makes it even worse is that you get away with it.
Sir, also about coming back to being a journalist, other than all these, what is the happiness of being a journalist? What are the advantages that you see that I am proud being a journalist?
Yeah, journalism may not get you the best salaries always, although it's quite decent, it's quite good. But the excitement, a lot of young people are coming, and increasingly women. In our Asian College of Journalism, which is run by a not-for-profit foundation, the Media Development Foundation. It is year after year, women outnumber men. They come in, which means something is happening to attract them to journalism, despite the risk, despite the fact that perhaps you can get more money working in some other profession. But something attracts them. So what is this something? It is the idea of going out there and finding out and being able to contribute which something that people read on a large scale, on a fairly large scale, or whether you work for a small media organization or a large one, you still have that ambition that I have something to discover and contribute. I can report, I can make sense, I can dig deeper and investigate. I can find out about some corruption scandal, about injustice, or about good things also. Some happy story somewhere which has not been reported, which people don't know about except in that locality. If I'm able to put it out, that gives you a sense of, it's not just any old profession, but it is something that I can be proud of, that I'm contributing to in the public realm, something that is in the public interest, because we want people to be better informed, to make their decisions. Take for example, the health sector. There is what is called information asymmetry, because on the one hand you have specialists, on the other hand you have people who have no idea. Even if I have a PhD, which I don't, but if I'm highly educated, I still am ignorant, largely ignorant about the way this disease develops and so on. So there is a lack of evenness. So the media can come in here and without attempting to play the role of doctor, it can form be a sort of bridge between the specialist and the recipient of this. So I think there are all kinds of things that you can do like that, to educate on science and technology, on the digital economy itself, on digital technology, on artificial intelligence. Now with data analysis, you can do wonderful things. Deep learning, data visualization. All these are being taught, but the journalist gets an opportunity to showcase this and present it to readers at large. So I think that's what attracts them. But there are different motivations. Some people may come in just to try to make money because they're no good at anything else. Maybe they think that's also there, but that's a small part.
Also, you're one of the greatest journalists of our time. So, whom do you see as a great journalist, or whom do you like as a journalist? Whom do you follow?
I think there have been very major journalists in India, of different kinds. You go back, I think Mahatma Gandhi himself was a great journalist, because he took it very seriously. If you see the freedom movement, a lot of the leaders were journalists themselves. They were also lawyers, and then you had journalists. Or even if they did other things, they continued to work contribute to journalism. The professional journalists, you had, going back to Hickey, James Hickey, and then you have the journalists I knew Girilal Jain, I knew Kushwant Singh, and various others in our field, and I knew Arun Shauri. He may have a different view from mine, but we work together on many issues. There have been progressive journalists, people on the left who have also contributed to journalism. So it's hard to say, but internationally, you have a great columnist, Walter Lippmann, you have Wilfred Burchett, you have Seymour Hersh, and my friend Alan Rusbridger, editor of The Guardian, who until a few years ago was, I think, an outstanding journalist. But also some good writers have been literary journalists. And I did an essay once on R.K. Narayan's journalism in the New York Review of Books on Saul Bellow, who says that in one of his novels, he says, journalism, that's not a good profession, it's a bad profession, but actually he was very keen as a journalist. He himself was quite a prolific journalist. So this is just a fictional character trying to put down journalism, but he himself continued to practice. So many great writers, Hemingway, Charles Dickens himself was an editor. And so I think you have a rich seam of journalism which can be tapped, and people should be educated all about this. Journalism is something worth studying apart from practicing. You need research into the history of journalism. Not enough in India. And also if you have different languages. Tamil Nadu. In Tamil Nadu, I think you have a rich tradition of journalism because the greatest poet, Subramania Bharati, Swadesamitranla sub-editor இருந்தாரு. ரெண்டு முறை. And that was his profession, but they also published journalism of high literary value in those days. Even today, in various Indian languages, there are some very fine writers. Mrinal Pandey, Hindi. In Hindi, she is outstanding as a journalist, a writer of literary stature. And so I think this interaction between literature and journalism is very important. Apart from, there are others who are just science journalists or just do data analysis for journalism. So you have different disciplines coming into journalism, and I think we can take in all that.
I hope the video was very useful and insightful for the young and upcoming journalists. With this, Priyadarshini for JustOut News.